What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and thank you for tuning in for another fantastic video today. Today, we're going to be going through all the news and earnings that are going to be coming out this week. Again, it is going to be a very robust earnings week, one of the largest ones we have. By the largest, we mean by the largest market cap. And we're going to go down in order on the before and after the close on some key positions, on some key earnings that we're going to be looking at. Mostly, we got the Meta. We already had McDonald's come out today. We got SoFi, AMD, Microsoft, Starbucks, Wing, ARM, Meta, Moderna, Apple, Intel. A lot of folks coming out here, and we're going to be diving into the charts, some of the stuff that we could potentially be looking at on the expected moves. I'm going to show you how you can calculate those expected moves and seeing how that can potentially play in your playbook. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it here. We're going to go to the main screen here. We're going to be looking at McDonald's first. So McDonald's just had their earnings today. Wasn't anything, honestly, that substantially exciting, to be quite honest. I'm just in my microphone here. Coming into basically like a 2-month high, basically trying to get up around like 263. Nothing to really write home about, right? It is kind of still in this this box right here. Not really getting broken out between that 260 and that 250 range, or that $10 range. It's at least still stuck in that little box there. Even though suggesting some of the news reports here we have here relative to, I had to open it up twice. The $5 meal is making a strong comeback. It's an inexpensive meal for $5. It's quick, it's easy. As you remember, a couple months ago, a lot of the stuff from Microsoft for McDonald's was regarding their lack of fairly highly priced meals, and it was due to the higher rise in inflation and wage cost. It really wasn't the most reasonable place to go to for a quick, fast meal, and that $5 meal has shown some influence there on bringing some consumers back there. That's not really one I really want to focus on. I want to kind of jump into some ones that are coming out tomorrow. So we're going to go to SoFi. So this one, again, probably know the Los Angeles Rams big stadium. SoFi is their lead folk there. For expected earnings, how we look at that and how we can look at this is going to be looking at the trade tab here. Again, I'm using Tastytrade. If you're interested on using Tastytrade to better your financial trading experience, I highly recommend it. I have a link down in the description below. That on August, so what we're looking for is August 2nd. That's the earnings for this week. It's going to be around 89 cents plus or minus. So let's just call it $1, and let's leave it at that. So looking at basically trading in around $1, we could maybe see it above $8. That's going to be, again, a couple months high here. Again, this thing has not been trading very well on a lot of merits. You can kind of see here somewhat of a trend line here. We can kind of draw this little trend line here. So we go from here basically to here. This is what we're kind of looking to see if this kind of break out of that potential pattern here. It is very much of like a bottom fishing, kind of a catfish stock right now, just kind of hanging down there, waiting for it to pop up. As well as we're going to be having PayPal coming out tomorrow mornings as well. This thing, again, talking about more bottom fishers. We have, this is also down here trading very well at near, it's not all-time lows. So I have to zoom out on this one a little bit more. This thing has been beat to heck, honestly. This thing has not been performing very well at all. Not a great pattern. This is a lot of overhead pressure. We're not seeing a lot of great movement here. This is a very dead kind of silence move here and not seeing this trying to come out and break out here. So this pattern right here is not significant because as a lot of other stocks we've seen in the past month or year or so has really kind of getting back up to near all-time highs. This is nowhere near. This is a C19 uh, dead in the water kind of fish. This thing is not seeing a pulse at all. Very, very not much to report there unless someone wants to buy them or something like that. I can see some kind of potential acquirer of this company, and we can see how that one plays out. But PayPal for now is definitely something that is a very hard to see any kind of movement coming out. The expected move for PayPal is quite low too. It's around $4.40. So we'll see on how that all particular plays out. This is not something that I'm super excited about at all. Jumping into Tuesday afternoon, I'm going to be much more excited about these plays, especially for AMD, Microsoft, and so forth. So we'll jump into AMD here. Um, this thing has been beaten down. This is again tied to the AI play. It's slightly below the 50-day, which is not the most concerning. It is somewhat beaten down. The volume hasn't seen any like large red selling. It's still somewhat like within or below average volume here with Nvidia kind of being shaken out. A lot of the big techs have been shaken out a little bit. Most of them have been coming down to the 50-day minus like Apple and Nvidia, I believe, and Microsoft maybe slightly has not touched the 50-day. So we'll see on how this one comes through. Nvidia expected move is basically $11.63. So that's going to be pretty significant here. So we're going to be looking for basically by this Friday's close, the market makers is expecting 1150, 1160 plus or minus. So $11 where we close today would basically put it to like 51 ish. So that's going to be right up here. That's not going to be too crazy. And then down south, which is going to be probably if it does want to sell off, it's going to be a little bit harder because it's already below the 50-day slightly. And if we do some negative downside, we could see this potentially drop down well below 130 to 127, which would be that expected move in which we discussed on the options actions. We can see that with that previous overhead resistance is now comes downward support potentially on seeing how this could potentially play out with again large tech. Nvidia does have some very core drivers. They still make excellent processing power chips, competing with Intel really, and then their GPUs, of course, they're competing with Nvidia. Speaking of another tech company, Microsoft reports earnings. SFT. They report earnings after the bell tomorrow as well. Very large. Again, yeah, this one has not been touched the 50 days as well. This looks substantially more healthy than the other folks. We can draw a trend line here. Again, very simple to draw here. Nice, beautiful trend line up. I'm going to guess the expected move is going to be anywhere from like, I'm going to say like $20. Yeah, boy. I got $20 there, plus or minus. So if it does break lower, that 50 days should be coming in some line of support, and seeing how that could potentially play out. That 50-day is going to be a very key guard or a guardrail for the overall stock. Again, that is very much where they say the institutional folks come into. It also doesn't help that CrowdStrike had the outage, and even though it was CrowdStrike's fault, somehow Microsoft's being pulled into this little hoopla, and Delta has made a very large announcements where they're hiring a law firm to investigate and figure out what the settlement should be and how they should play it out with regards of the outage and having to cancel nearly 7,000 flights due to that process. So I'm not really going to be too forward positive on the CrowdStrike play out, but Microsoft had little to nothing, had nothing really to do with it. Um, I think if they can see some good earnings growth coming through, again, $20 plus or minus. Also on the same day, we got a lot of names. Something completely different. Something oops, I spelled that wrong. SBUX. We got Starbucks. Starbucks is coming out as well. This thing has definitely been beaten down substantially more. We're seeing this again very much at the bottom towards the last year's over or last at the bottom of its year here. We can call this maybe a double bottom here. Let's zoom back into the daily side here and seeing a better overall picture. A double bottom here. This is not a very good look when you have the 10-day and the 50-day pointing lower here. Again, we're not seeing a lot of volume pickup, but this thing has not been able to catch a bid and really go anywhere here and seeing the overall jump of any kind of significant upward trend. The expected move is $5 plus or minus. Again, Starbucks is going to really kind of come out. I think it's going to definitely have something in correlation with how they did with Microsoft. So I mean McDonald's. So McDonald's did kind of beat up here. We're going to have to hear from their previous quarters on how they're bringing back customers into the store. How are they bringing the overall cost down due to the higher inflation of coffee and other various factors, labor and so forth, on keeping the customer coming and really new menu items coming forth. So this one's gonna be interesting to see. Again, double bottom coming in at $72. A $5 moves could easily put it back down that $70 range, something I wouldn't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. So Starbucks is probably not a no-go for me on the growth stocks that I like. Speaking of a growth stock, we can tap into. Oh, I misspelled that. Is it a? Oh, it's AR. I'm misspelling this. ST. Oh, I got my notes here. It's a. ANET. Yeah, that's what. Did I say that? Oh, there it goes. ANET. This thing has been doing fairly well here, comparing to the overall the other parts of the group. It is somewhat trying to break out here. It is below the 50-day, as we've seen with a lot of other stocks and so forth, especially in the tech sector. But a much stronger name. You can see this. The chart overall is an overall upward trend, and we can do that little trend line there for you. So we're just going to see this continue to slightly rise higher here. The expected move is going to be probably like $20 as well. $27. Wow, that's a much larger expected move. Slightly higher implied volatility. So that definitely that around that 320 level can easily bring it below 300 and below. With this overall line being a reasonable level of support with ANET. Again, the 50-day is somewhere the guardrail. It did sell off pretty sharply the past 2 days on, was that Tuesday, Wednesday. We had a lot of tech selling of last week. This wasn't really good for a lot of these names, but it's nothing. It's a little beat up, but it's still in the race for expecting to perform fairly well in the coming future. Just a little bump in the road, as they say. Pins is another one. Pinterest, that is. So this is the social media picture thing of sharing and so forth of images. This thing had a pretty large breakout its last earnings and was climbing fairly well, but with the overall rotation, as they're calling it now, within smaller caps and out of tech and taking some risk off because of the election and all the of our rates going up and things like that, it's seeing some substantially selling here, and it's pretty much in like a no-go zone buy area. This is just like somewhat of a falling knife here. It's just consistently red, and it's continuously breaking lower and lower and lower there. So this is something I do not want to touch as well. Next, we're going to go with BA. That's going to be on Wednesday morning. So Boeing, speaking of things coming off and crashing. This is a stock that's been not performing very well over the long term. We can look at that in like a 5 year side. This is the episode where in 2020, right? Was it right before? Yeah, it happened. No, it wasn't. When was the flight? Was that before the COVID? No, it had to be here. It had to be here. Everything just crashed. This is not just of the airlines, but just the overall downturn in traveling market, and it hasn't really recovered from that. It has been pretty much not been able to break above 267 the past like 4 years. um, being such a was such a big, large powerhouse of a company, now it's just kind of been whittled down quite substantially here, and just kind of just trading sideways here. Again, the expected move is probably gonna be like $10. It's $8 here coming into this. This is something that I wouldn't want to touch with a 10-foot pole just because it's not the most well-rounded company. Again, you're really bottom fishing there. Wingstop. This is another great company, substantially different than from other stocks that we just looked at. Beautiful upward trend. We're holding the 50-day here. Kind of bounced off it a couple times, broke through it quite dramatically here, as you saw with a lot of other stocks coming through again the last 2 or 3 weeks. We are trading slightly below here and continue slightly trending lower here. Earnings could switch that up, and we could see maybe a pop. The expected move is probably $20, $38. Holy moly! It's actually not this. They don't have weekly options for this, so let's just call it maybe $20 for the expected move for this week. So anywhere from basically this low ish. This could be a double bottom here. We could see this slightly print higher here and coming up to that $400 level if we do see some positive numbers coming through. We did see a lot of that bounce back with ServiceNow of last week. That made a pretty large bounce back from the 50-day, and it's kind of coming back slightly there. I'm now going to Wednesday after the bell. We have Meta coming out. Meta, again, strong AI play with their Llama, integrating into a lot of their applications. They want to build out a very smart assistant. I forget, they call it like Studio Creator or Creator Studio or something like that, where AI wants to build out and create a simple chat bot for your business, for you, and that's able to answer simple questions, and something that they're pursuing. It's not like the metaverse. They're still slightly pursuing that, but they're kind of pivoted from that, and we're going to be looking at more of the AI play and really kind of connecting folks in that play. That being said, we are below the 50-day here, kind of bouncing around here, not significantly, seeing a little bit of a pullback coming in the last 2 days here over the weekend. Seeing it kind of pop higher. I bet the expected move is going to be fairly high, around 40, yep, $41 here. That's going to be a pretty substantial move. Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to call it, does have some substantial moves in earnings history on up and downside because it's a very volatile stock. If we can show some of these moves here in the past like 10 years, drastic moves on advertising losing money, metaverse spending too much money on metaverse, to the election stuff coming from the past in 2016 and so forth. Excuse me. And seeing that potentially play out here, this has been a rough ride for sure for Meta, but it has a substantially run the past couple years here, especially with its growing of basically adopting a lot of the AI stuff and NVIDIA GPUs to help with image generation, image recognition, and really creating the multiple uses for the AI chatbot. And like Mark has said, that they're not just kind of they're making a general wish one that can do multiple functions and not just a very fine-tuned specific one that some companies might be looking for. Or we just want a chat bot for lawyers. We just want a chat bot for customer service. They want to make it more fluent and more really AI-ish and more intelligent as a human that can be taught rather than just making it predicted sequence of questions and so forth. All right, now we're going to go looking at some chips. We're not talking about Frito-Lay chips. We're going to be talking about the computer chips here. ARM, again, this was somewhat of a newer stock over the past couple years here. They actually don't make anything. They're just architecture of chips, and they use TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor, to help produce those. You see ARM, again, had a huge run due to the Apple uplift. So Apple made that large announcements of, hey, iPhone 16 is going to have AI in it, and it's going to have this particular chip. And guess what that chip is? It's an ARM chip. Boom, boom, boom. Had a huge run up with the Apple run. Now it's kind of coming off with, again, we've seen a lot of that sector rotation out of tech and so forth coming into that 50-day here, slightly below it here. I bet you the expected move is around 15 bucks. Yes, it is 15 bucks for the week. We're going to be looking at this potentially for a play. If it does come down to like 130 level, it's going to be slightly dangerous because, again, we have the falling 10 EMA, 10 SMA here coming into the 50 SMA here, somewhat trading lower here. We're not seeing very large volume spikes of red, which is a good thing. But just keep in mind that this is going to be very much in line with the other tech stocks and semiconductors going through there. Another chip company we're going to be looking at, Qualcomm. This thing is trading substantially further below the 50-day here, and it's still trending lower here. We can do that simple line here for everyone to see. Right here, we'll just continue going lower here. This is not a great look. Can earnings fix it? Sure, earnings can fix a lot of things, but right now it's trending lower here. Nothing to really write home about. Potentially finding a base here on the previous level of resistance. Now comes support around 175. I'm gonna guess the expected move is gonna be around $11. It's $12.95, so somewhat close here. So it's about $13 plus or minus here. We could be bouncing off at the lower bottom of the trend line or trying to break at or above this would be a nice significant move for Qualcomm. Again, I don't know what's going to happen in earnings. You don't know what happens in earnings, so it is a coin flip. So just be very careful out there. Another one we'll look at is Moderna, mRNA. Remember the thing that everyone had to get? Let's go here a week. This thing was insane in the membrane. Yeah, trading up at nearly, was that $460 here. Now it's been kind of just beaten up. A lot of these, again, what are we seeing here? A lot of these stocks, SoFi, PayPal, Starbucks, these are very much bottom fishing. McDonald's has not been performing well as well. These are just trading substantially lower down here and not seeing any kind of significant improvement. Again, I bet you this potentially trades like 15 bucks as well. Wow, it's only 11 plus or minus. So again, I'm not going to be holding my breath on Moderna. I'm not touching this one with a 10-foot pole. Switching from needles to shoes. That some people want to stick their needles in their eyes with that people wear these shoes. Are the Crocs. So Crocs is also, again, a summer thing. People wear in the wintertime, I guess. This has been a very fashionable statement. I'm doing air quotes. And on how this plays out here. This thing has been trading around, has seen somewhat of an upward trend, but now we're kind of hitting that guardrail, which is the 50 SMA here. Not seeing any substantial kind of movement here, and just kind of really, I feel like it's waiting to see what earnings pops out and guidance in particular on if there's any new collabs, if what they're coming out with. Because again, this thing has been performing fairly well the past couple years here, especially in the last year has been performing pretty fantastic. We've got two more for you folks, and I'll let you go. We got the old Amazon. This thing has, again, it's been basing for a long time here, hitting that 50-day here, just kind of been bouncing around, really much just kind of waiting and just seeing how earnings plays out. This expected move is going to be around 15 bucks, 12.30. So again, it's trading below the 50-day already. Can it break lower? Of course it can. That being said, that doesn't mean that it has to. It doesn't mean it has. That's just these are just percentage of options or what the options market is giving the probability of these things that are happening. With that being said, I'm in Amazon. I think Amazon is going to be going higher. They have a lot of things, good things going for them. I would like to see Amazon, of course, break out, get back to $200, which would be fantastic, and seeing that trend. And again, I'm a longer term investor in the old Amazon. You're seeing this potentially like this cup and handle here. It's been performing very well. I just want to see that continue to break out. So let's look at Coin, and then we'll look at Apple, and then we'll wrap it up. If you have any comments or questions below, that would be great. If you can go ahead and put those in now, that'd be fantastic. Coin, this is very much on the Bitcoin, on who's going to win the presidency. You have Trump saying a lot of things about he's going to fire the oh my God, SEC chief, and then is going to be incorporating a lot more rules, less regulations, and so forth, and really the adoption of cryptocurrencies and bitcoins in particular, and making it much more of a USA thing, rather than having to offshore a lot of these exchanges and so forth. And Coinbase would be one of the biggest factors of that, and would be having one of the larger parts of a win, if that does come true. What do you think the expected move is going to be? I'm going to guess $20. Yes, it is $20. The expected move. This thing is slightly forming here. We can kind of here just kind of draw you a little bit. Where's the box go? Here we go. Rectangle. This is basically here. Is this kind of be call it a Darvis box? Kind of been trading in this little box of purgatory with earnings. This thing is definitely looking, trying to poise to break out. Again, lower level is around 200 for your level of support. Breakout would be around that those newer highs around 270. So let's see this one can get some juju and pop higher. Last but not least, we have the old Apple. Apple has been a fantastic overall stock this past year, again, due to the iPhone refresh, adding AI into the system. This thing has been performing, I'm not too going to go 2-day and 1 year. Again, well above the 50-day. With earnings coming out, this thing is looking for being very reasonably priced. It is performing substantially better than a lot of other stocks and companies within the market. Again, not just due to the charts, but the overall guidance, the overall thinking of how Apple is going to be interacting with AI and the overall future of technology here. That has had a pretty large gap up here. Kind of, I would call it like a Tesla run. That it's just been really just been going up at like a 85 to an 89-degree angle here, and just being kind of pushed along here. Again, seeing some kind of like selling coming through, again, due to a lot of rotations, especially out of the tech names and so forth. But it's been holding up substantially better. I'm going to guess the expected move is going to be around $15. It is only $8. Okay, so that's going to be, I forgot Apple's only trading at 216. So $8 is still pretty significant. That can bring it down to at least that 210 level, which can be right around that 50 SMA level there. So that can easily happen, or we can pop up higher and seeing those full on bulls come into play here, and we can see that playing out. Guys, ladies, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this was enjoyable. If you have comments, questions, please leave them down below, and I'll get you guys on the flip side. Peace.